When you were a child, did you really believe Tom and Jerry and thought the moon was a block of cheese? Even if you didn't, how much about the moon do you really know? Did you know that astronomers got tired of watching the moon rotate around the Earth for 24 hours, so they just called it a day? Just kidding. But really, we have spent many nights admiring the moon, but little do we know what the moon really is. Here are 15 interesting facts about the moon you didn't know. Number 15. How did the moon form? According to the giant impact theory, the Earth had no moon. Back in Earth's early history, a violent collision created the moon. An object about the size of Mars smashed into Earth, creating a bunch of debris that circled our planet. The debris came from both the Earth and the object, and over time the smaller bits stuck together and formed the moon that we see today. Returning from their mission, the Apollo astronauts brought back a few 100 pounds of rock, and from there this theory was made. Also, we got to know that moon rocks taste better than Earth rocks, cause it's a little meteor. Number 14. The moon is gradually drifting away from the Earth. The moon moves roughly 3.8 centimeters further away from Earth every year. Scientists say that this will continue to happen for the next 50 billion years. Compared to the current time of 27.3 days that the moon takes to orbit the Earth, it will take 47 days in the future. Number 13. What does Michael Jackson have in common with the NASA? It's been decades since their first moonwalk. Since 1972, all lunar missions have been unmanned spacecrafts. Neil Armstrong was the first man on the moon in 1969, as part of the Apollo 11 mission. And Gene Cernan was the last in 1972 on the Apollo 17 mission. A total of only 12 American males have been to the moon. NASA plans to return astronauts to the moon to set up a permanent space station. Number 12. The silvery moon is actually dark gray. The lunar surface is about as bright as the sidewalk under the hot sun in midday. When you see the moon in the daytime, you can see how pale it really is. It's just all about extreme contrast. The dark color of the night sky makes the moon look like it's extremely bright. Number 11. A 95% illuminated moon seems to be half as bright as a full moon. The moon is half as bright as a full moon about 2.4 days before and after a full moon. To most casual viewers, the moon may still look like a full moon, but its brightness is roughly 0.7 magnitudes less than at full phase, making it appear one-half as bright. Number 10. The moon has a huge temperature range. The temperature at the lunar equator ranges from an extremely low -280 degrees Fahrenheit at night to a very high 260 degrees Fahrenheit in daytime. In some deep craters near the moon's pole, the temperature is always near -400 degrees Fahrenheit. During a lunar eclipse, as the moon moves into the Earth's shadow, the surface temperature can raise to about 500 degrees Fahrenheit in less than 2 hours. Number 9. Moonquakes. Yes, that's what it's called. Like we have quakes on Earth, the moon has its moonquakes. The gravitational pull of Earth causes small moonquakes several kilometers beneath the surface, causing ruptures and cracks. Number 8. The shape of the moon appears to change in a repeating cycle when viewed from the Earth, because of the amount of illuminated moon we see, depending on the moon's position in relation to the Earth and the Sun. We see the full moon when the sun is directly behind us, illuminating a full hemisphere of the moon, when it is directly in front of us. The new moon when the moon is darkened occurs when the moon is almost directly between Earth and the sun. The sun's light illuminates only the far side of the moon that we can't see. Number 7. The Earth, seen from the moon, also goes through phases. However, they are opposite to the lunar phases that we see from the Earth. It's a full Earth when it's a new moon for us, last quarter Earth when we're seeing a first quarter moon, a crescent Earth when we're seeing a gibbous moon, and when the Earth is at a new phase, we're seeing a full moon. Imagine if people lived on the moon, they would come out at night and say things like, "The Earth light is shimmering tonight." Or if they just got newly married, they would be on their honey Earth. Get it? Honeymoon? Number 6. The size of the Earth from the Moon is nearly 4 times larger than what the Moon appears to us. And on the Moon, the Earth would shine anywhere from 45 to 100 times brighter than a full moon. So when a full Earth appears in the lunar sky, it illuminates the Moon with a bluish-gray glow. Number 5. Did you hear about the great new restaurant on the Moon? The food is excellent, but there's no atmosphere. The Moon has no atmosphere. The sky on the Moon always appears black and no sound can be heard. Having no atmosphere also means that it is unprotected from cosmic rays and meteorites and solar winds. Number 4. There's water on the Moon, which is a surprise as the Moon has practically no atmosphere. There is frozen water in shadowed craters and potentially below the soil itself. Scientists predict that the water may have been blown in by solar wind or deposited by comets, but the origin is still not known. No one is sure if there is enough ice there to support human beings, but it would be exciting to find out. We wouldn't have to carry all the water with us when we move, right? Number 3. Can you name the first satellite to orbit the Earth? The Moon, of course. Of the 4 planets nearest the Sun, Earth is the only one with a real moon. Mercury and Venus orbit solo, while Mars is accompanied by 2 small satellites that are most likely asteroids. There are bigger moons in the solar system. While we might think that the Moon is large, it's actually a little less than 1/3 of the diameter of Earth. The Moon is the 5th largest natural satellite in the solar system, measuring at 3,475 kilometers in diameter. The Moon is much smaller than the moons of Jupiter and Saturn. The largest moon is actually Ganymede, which is around Jupiter, which is bigger than Mercury or Pluto. The other bigger ones in order of size are Titan around Saturn and Callisto around Jupiter. Number 2. The Moon has its own time zone, but it's impossible to tell the time on the Moon. In 1970, Kenneth L. Franklin, who was the chief astronomer at New York's Hayden Planetarium, was asked to design a watch for moonwalkers that measures time in what he calls lunatations, the period it takes for the Moon to rotate and revolve around the Earth. Each lunatation is exactly 29.53 Earth days. For the Moon, Franklin developed a system he called lunar time. He calculated local lunar time zones similar to the standard time zones of Earth, but based on meridians that are 12 degrees wide. A lunar hour was defined as a lunhour, but the watch didn't gain much popularity. Maybe a better name for the watch should have been the lunartic. Number 1. The dark side of the Moon is only a cool thing you can say. There's really no such thing. The lunar far side is simply the hemisphere hidden from Earth's view. Both sides of the Moon see the same amount of sunlight. The Moon is tidally locked to Earth. Only one face of the Moon is ever seen from Earth. This is because the Moon rotates around its axis in exactly the same time it takes to orbit Earth. The side we see from Earth is reflected by sunlight, while the dark side has only been seen from a spacecraft.